Blessings, Native. I know Pastor Flo, Kyle, Pastor Flo, Maria. Blessings, everybody. Uh, Make sure you like the broadcast. Don't forget, like and share. As they say, sharing is caring. Blessings to everybody. Blessings. Happy Wednesday. I pray that you guys are winning. I pray you are winning today. And so today we're going to be talking about overcoming discouragement and depression. Overcoming discouragement and depression. And this is going to be in two parts. So we'll do one part today, and the Lord say the same. We'll do the second part tomorrow. Now, today we're going to be kind of like focusing on the uh, physical attributes dealing with depression, like the physical aspects of depression. And then the Lord say the same tomorrow. We're going to deal with the spiritual aspects. Yeah, overcoming discouragement and depression. And so, can we just keep it real and 100 that we all get discouraged, right? Even me as a leader, right? Occasionally we get discouraged. And I'm sure that you do as well, because guess what? Nobody is exempt, because life just be life, and right? I like to say life happens to us all. Oh, let me pray. Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. For Lord, you are our strength and our redeemer. Let no one leave this broadcast the same way that they came. In Yahweh's name, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So blessings upon blessings be upon each and every one of you. And so what people don't realize, Pastor Flo, is that discouragement can turn into depression. Let me say that again. Discouragement can turn into depression if you don't get a hold of it, right? And along with this discouragement, most of the time you're either overwhelmed or you are frustrated. Can I get a witness, right? Right? You're overwhelmed, you're frustrated. And so the truth be told, if we would be honest, some of you have been suffering from discouragement. You've been suffering from discouragement. You're kind of discouraged, and it just seems like things are just excuse me, not panning out, right? And so we are going to go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 11. And sometimes, and I know I'm probably going ahead of myself in these notes, Native, but sometimes we experience discouragement. And no, well, let me switch that. Sometimes we experience depression and don't even know we're depressed. So y'all don't want to have no real church. Blessings to everybody that is coming in. I see 12 of you are on the line. Please make sure that you like and share the broadcast. Today we're talking about overcoming discouragement and depression, right? And so I'm here to tell you that if you have not dealt with it, then keep on living, right? It's bound. It's bound to happen. I've dealt with it. But thanks be unto God, and I shared that story with you all. When I dealt with it, God told me to, I'm a musician, so God told me to get on the keys and start singing unto Him, and that spirit never came back to visit me, right? And so, we have biblical characters, right, who had great courage, and guess what? They had human frailty too. Hey Miguel, blessings to you. I was looking for you yesterday, but I'm glad you're here. Blessings upon blessings be upon you. And so these characters of great courage, they had frailty, they had weakness. Hello. And some were even suffering from depression, right? And I'm going to give you some names: Noah, Moses, David, Elijah, Jeremiah. All these powerful prophets and leaders, they experienced, some of them experienced deep depression to the point of they wanted to die, and they actually asked God to kill them, right? Jonah was one of them. Jonah was like, look, you know, Lord, take me on out of here, right? And so, but eventually what happens is, I didn't give the verse yet, but we're getting ready to go to Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 to 40. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 to 40. And so, eventually these men and women of God who were faithful men and women of God, they found a way of escape from depression. They found a way on up out of the depression. And so we're going to get into this. And guess what? They were able to deal with hopeless situations, or situations that seemed hopeless, right? And so when we are weak, we become emotional. Hello. But in their hopelessness, when they came up out of the depression, guess what? They became emotionally and spiritually strong, and so can we. So let's go to the book of Hebrews. I have a lot to cover. Prayerfully, God will allow me to get through this, and then we'll focus on part 2 tomorrow. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 to 40, and it says, "And what more shall I say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and Barak and Samson and Jephthah, also of David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith, listen to this, subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, see, became valiant in battle, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Still others had trials of mockings and scourgings, yes, and of chains and imprisonment. Now, all of this stuff all of these things is bound to have you discouraged and depressed. Hello, can we get a witness here? Right? But it goes on to say, but still others had trial of mockings and scourgings, yes, and of chains and imprisonments. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and mountains, in dens and caves of the earth, and all these, having obtained a good testimony through faith, did not receive the promise. God having provided something better for us, that they should not be made perfect apart from us. So look at all of this stuff that they went through, Miguel. So I'm pretty sure in the midst of all of that, there was some discouragement. There was some depression. And so they overcame their discouragement through faith. Hello. Type in the comments, overcome your discouragement by faith. Overcome your discouragement by faith. And so by overcoming discouragement through faith, they became more stable. You want to be more stable, then you have to overcome, and you got to do it by faith. So by overcoming discouragement through faith, they became more stable. Listen, more compassionate, right? Because when you go through some things, now you can be more compassionate towards others, right? And not only that, did they become more compassionate, but they became mature, more spiritually mature. See, life got a way of maturing you. Yeah, they became more spiritually mature. And so today, we're going to go over depression has many faces. Depression has many faces. And guess what? It's not limited to intelligence. Hello, Kyle. It's not limited to your wealth. It's not limited to culture. It's not limited to age, Maria. Depression has many faces. And as I said earlier, some people don't even realize that they suffer from it. Yeah, some people don't realize it. And we're going to get into some statistics. I can give you some statistics now, but we'll get into it a little bit later. But depression, and I want you to think about this. Depression, DJ Lady T, hey, blessings to you. Depression is a broad range of negative states of mind. Let me say that again. Depression is a broad range of negative states of mind. All right? Depression shows up as the common short term down or sinking feeling after hearing bad news. So depression can show up just like that in something just as common and simple, right? And it's like this short term down or sinking feeling after you hear some bad news. And sometimes depression results from a blow to the ego. See, we don't want to talk about that, Maria, right? When people's egos are blown. And so what happens is our pride is hurt and we just feel like what crawling under a chair. We feel like disappearing when our pride gets hurt, Madden, right? And so at on the other extreme of that, there's a long term, chronic, or crippling emotion of futility. There's hopelessness, there's emptiness, and there's a lack of joy and energy. That's the other extreme. And these can be coupled with, listen, total loss of self esteem. At one point, you was feeling good about yourself, and now you totally lost that, right? Unrelenting guilt, shame, and even suicide ideation, right? And so, um, the majority of depressed feelings, it begins in a response to a specific loss, a fear of loss, or some kind of adverse occurrence in life that happens, right? Uh, um, and it's usually something that we can kind of pinpoint, right? We can kind of pinpoint because where it came from, right? We can kind of pinpoint it, right? Um, but what I want to also talk about when we're dealing with the depressive cycle, native lady, the depressive cycle, it collapses your self-worth, then to self-depreciation. You know how once you pull the car off the lot, it depreciates, right? The value is no longer what it was while it was sitting on the lot, right? And so this depressive cycle leads to collapse of self-worth, then to self-depreciation, and then to a feeling that the situation is hopeless, right? And so hopeless, I want y'all to type this in the comments. Hopeless attitudes produces changes in the responses of the mind and body. Hopeless attitudes produce changes in the responses of the mind and the body. Now, this naturally happens. We ain't even tapped into the spiritual aspect yet, but hopeless attitudes produces changes in the responses in your mind and in your body. And what happens is it starts to immobilize the person. Yeah, it starts mobilizing the person. Blessings to everyone that is here. Blessings, welcome, welcome, welcome to Truth for Today. Today we are talking about overcoming discouragement and depression. And if you have not done so already, please like the broadcast and share it out. All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12. And it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, right? So when a person sees hope in their lives, most of the time, if they don't see it, this is what it really means. When a person doesn't see hope in their lives, most of the time they can slip right into depression because they can't see it. Like they can't see the forest for the trees, right? They can't see the forest for the trees. And I'm skipping over a whole lot, y'all. Skipping over a whole lot. So what we want to, we're talking about how discouragement can lead into depression. And so a depressive mood can cross the mind for no apparent reason. Right? You ever have like, it's just like a random thought come across your mind, right? A random thought, and you be like, that was crazy. Why did that come to my mind? I wasn't even thinking about nothing like that. You know what I mean? A depressive mood can do that to you. It can come cross your mind for no apparent reason. It don't mean that something going on. It just came. Are y'all following me? Put your hand emojis in the comments if y'all following me. And guess what? This depressive mood, it can be the result of, it's almost like you reach a breaking point, right? You reach a breaking point because you done had so many setbacks in life, right? And it's something we refer to as the final straw, right, Pastor Flo? Like we'll say, that's the last straw that broke the camel's back, right? It is what we call the final straw. That's it. I had it, right? That's the final straw. I just can't deal with it any longer, right? It's one of them, Maria, right? And a lot of times people have a nervous breakdown at this point when it's like that. They end up having a nervous breakdown. But what I want to draw to your attention also is this, that the breaking, listen to me well, of God's spiritual laws, his commandments, what he's told you to do, the breaking of God's spiritual law, guess what? It sets us up to experience problems, Maria, or attitudes of mind for which there seems to be no hope or help. See, that's why it's so important that our spirituality is in check and it's in on point. Because guess what? That also can add up to us experiencing problems or attitudes of mind for which there seems to be no hope or no help. Right? Let me give you an example. Doing things we know are wrong. See, y'all don't want to have no real church. Doing things we know are wrong, it can result in negative or depressive feelings. Why? Because I knew what I did was wrong, and now I'm stuck with the way I feel, and now I don't know how to come out of it. Right? I may not be able to come out of it because of shame, or now I'm full of regret because I done hurt somebody that I really wasn't trying to hurt like that. Are y'all catching that? Right? So doing things we know are wrong results in negative or depressive feelings, as does, listen, and people don't talk about it a lot. Pastor Flo, thank you for that encouragement. But also influence of demonic thoughts. You do know that demons can influence your thought process. That's why the Bible tells us to cast down every vain imagination that would exalt itself against the knowledge of God. That's why he tells you to bring your thoughts captive, because you can have influence of demonic thoughts. So that's another factor. And I'm trying to help you not only for your own life, but also you'll be able to recognize it in somebody else, and you'll be able, listen, you'll be able to comfort them with the comfort that you received. All right? Here's another factor. Unresolved resentment. Hello, that can lead into depression, y'all. Bitterness, jealousy, envy, or anger, all of them emotions can lead to feelings of loss. And as a result, that's how the depressed feelings come upon us. Cause basically it's almost like a gateway for other stuff to come in, for other spirits to come in. Are y'all following me? Proverbs chapter 14, verse 30. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 30. And it says, listen to me well, y'all, and y'all need to mark this. A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones. Maria said, I've been there. Thank you for your honesty, Maria. A sound heart is life to the body. Is your heart sound? Is your heart sound? He says a sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones. Listen, for such sins as envy, we have to ask for forgiveness from God and ask others we have offended for forgiveness as well. Just like I did on yesterday, right? Then we got to set our values and our priorities right. Type that in the comments. Set your values and your priorities right. And then you have to make a resolve within yourself not to do that again. Right, when you are asking for forgiveness and you are telling people that you're sorry, you have to come with a resolve within yourself that this thing I won't be found doing no more. Are y'all catching it? Right? We have a part to play in this. Right? So I don't want you, my brothers and sisters, I don't want you to never underestimate the influence that evil spiritual forces have on our minds and our attitudes. Let me say it again for the people that act like you did not hear me, right? Never underestimate the influence that evil spiritual forces have on our minds and our attitudes. See? Let's go to Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 to 3. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 to 3. It says, and you he made alive, who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. These people that's all off the chain, look what's working in them. He said it's the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience, among whom also we all once conducted ourselves in the lust of our flesh. He says, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, just as the others are right now. So the world, and this is the part I want to get to too, the world is very susceptible, native lady. The world is very susceptible to these principalities and these powers. The prince of the air is Satan, and if we are not careful, he can have an effect on us as well. Why are we acting like what we seeing is so strange? It's not. It's not. All right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Paul said, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age. Remember, I told you the other day, there's different levels when it comes to that spiritual realm, right? He said, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So I hope y'all know that we do know that Satan is out there, right? And that he's trying to affect us whenever he can. Hello. So these evil spirits place damaging and negative moods and feelings in vulnerable or unsuspecting human minds. Remember, the enemy can't make you do anything. He brings a suggestion to your mind. Why do you think some of these people do all of this crazy stuff? Because they act upon what was brought to their mind. Y'all don't want to have no church. And I want you to think about something, because today we're talking about overcoming discouragement and depression that and we say this, but I want to bring it to your attention, right? We all know that if you're overworked, you're eating poorly, right? Poor diet. You got prolonged mental stress. You got anxiety or fear. All of that stuff can drain you mentally and physically. Hello. Now, let me just put this disclaimer out there. All depression is not caused directly by spiritual problems. Hello, let me say that again. All depression is not caused directly by spiritual problems. So, what we're going to do, as I said earlier, is we're going to take a look at the physical causes of depression. And then the Lord says the same tomorrow, we're going to look at the spiritual causes. Y'all got me? All right. So, these types of causes, they drain us of our needed strength to cope with life and its problems. It can drain you. Listen. So I'm going to give you 7 causes of discouragement and depression that happens physically. And then, like I said, tomorrow the Lord said the same. We're going to deal with the spiritual causes. All right. And I think it is so necessary to cover this so we can realize where some of the problems come from in a physical sense. Hello. Because if you're dealing with it, it's either coming from a physical sense or a spiritual sense. Are y'all catching me? Right? So the first cause, physical or mental exhaustion. And sometimes it could take weeks or years to develop that, right? And it usually manifests itself in mental energy fatigue. In other words, it's a worn out feeling of being unable to cope. You just tired, worn out. And and like, I can't deal with this right now. Right? You ever heard people talk like that? Like, oh, I can't deal with this right now. This is too much. Right? All right. Number 2. Here's a big one. Improper nutrition. That'll set you up for depression too. See, we don't want to talk about that piece. How you eating? You see, y'all don't have no church. Y'all really don't believe me, right? But improper nutrition will gradually set you up for that depression you trying to avoid. Think about it. People who are depressed, they either don't eat or they eating too much. Either extreme is not good for you. Y'all don't want to have no church, right? Too many refined sugars, starches, hello, fats in the diet, all kinds of unbalanced nutrition. Guess what? It weakens your body's physical endurance. It weakens your mental alertness. See, y'all don't want to have no church right now. And it weakens your ability to handle problems or stress. Because guess what? How you eat is a manifestation, or how you don't eat. You starved yourself to death. You ain't eating. You ain't got the proper nutrients. So guess what? If you ain't eating now, you ain't even got no energy no way. So y'all don't want to have no real church. And we're still on improper nutrition. Allergic reactions to certain foods or substances can produce mental dullness. Your mind ain't sharp. You forgetting everything. See, y'all don't want to have no real church. It can produce mental dullness, irritability. You're irritable because you either you're irritable or you got these depressed feelings. See, y'all don't want to have no church. And guess what, y'all? We still on the physical. Even a lack of light can cause our bodies to go into depressive moods. You ever see, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all done seen it on movies, right? When people falling in depression and all of that, and they got the shades closed, and somebody come in the room and they start opening up the blinds, like, let some light in here. Get up from there, right? Get on up from there. So here we go, and we can ready to get into some statistics to bring it really in your face right now, right? According to this article, it's called "The Full Arsenal to Fight Depression." It appeared in the Charlotte Observer on Monday, August 12th, 2002. And this is what the article said. For years, light therapy has been used to treat seasonal affective disorder, a type of depression that afflicts about 1 in 10 people who live in places with shorter winter days. Did y'all catch that? Called light therapy. And they do this for people. 1 to 10 people experience this that live in a place that has shorter winter days. Interesting, ain't it? Listen, the women who live in Alaska have a hard time with depression for this very reason. Ain't enough light. Y'all, y'all don't want to have no church. And check this out, y'all. It said there's a growing evidence indicates that being bathed in at least 30 minutes a day in bright artificial light, preferably full spectrum light, may be as effective, listen, as an antidepressant in any season. Now, would you rather bathe for 30 minutes in the light or take antidepressant medicine? See, y'all ain't ready for this message. Y'all ain't ready for this message, right? Now, mind you, this article is coming from a medical standpoint. The mood boosting effects can kick in, listen, almost immediately. Being introduced to light. See, that's a message in itself I can't get into right now, right? And it said, in comparison, the researcher said antidepressants may require a month of use before people feel their effects. But you doing light therapy, just bathing in the light for 30 minutes a day, hello, you'll get results immediately versus using an antidepressant that can take a month to change your mood. See, y'all don't want to have no church. Today we're talking about, we're dealing with overcoming discouragement and depression. All right, number 3, improper sleep. That's another big one. Improper sleep, diet, and exercise leads to depression. Proper rest, food, and activity will help us come out of a depressed condition and help us to avoid it in the future. Are y'all catching this? According to that same article, they have done numerous studies how regular exercise can be an excellent antidote for mild to moderate depression. Just getting up, exercising, getting up, moving around. Go outside and take a walk. Get out of your own environment and go somewhere different. See, y'all ain't ready. And the researchers said over time, it may work better than medication in controlling symptoms. They said we still don't understand the mechanisms behind this, whether it's a change in brain chemistry or they just feel better because they mastered some challenge, says James Blumenthal, a Duke University psychologist and co-author of a 200-person study on the long-term effects of exercise. And he said, but we do know it works. Just getting exercise can change your mood. See, y'all don't want to have no church. Number 4, lack of creative activity. Lack of creative activity or achievement is discouraging. Some people are discouraged because they just absolutely sit around and do absolutely nothing. See, y'all don't want to have no church. Ooh. Y'all don't want to have no church. They don't have no type of creative activity going on at all. A lack of creative activity or achievement is discouraging. But listen, positive creativity or achievement of any kind, even if it must start out small, should be encouraged for depressed people. A depressive sense of worth and accomplishment must be built up again, one step at a time. Accomplishments should be pointed out positively to the depressive because their depressed attitude tends to downgrade even things they can accomplish. You ever met somebody, and I'm going to use this example, and this is going to be an extreme example, but it's just trying to drive a point home, right? For instance, somebody that knows how to drive, right? They say to you, driving is like riding a bike, right? You don't forget that, right? But people who are depressive, they can reach a point where they don't even think they can drive down the road when they've driven down this road for the last 30 or 40 years. So what has happened is depression can put you in an unrealistic state of mind because you've been doing this for 30 or 40 years. Now all of a sudden you talking about, I can't do it. Y'all don't want to have a church. Listen, many deeply depressed people feel they have totally lost all their, listen to this, former skills and abilities. And they wrongly conclude that they are total failures. See how the devil will mess you up in your own mind? And this is a misleading feeling caused by depression. And not only that, guess what? It adds fuel to feelings of hopelessness and futility. But the skills and abilities ain't went nowhere. It's still there. They have not lost them. Hello. And they can return they can return back to what they was doing before once they recover from the depression. Not only once they recover from the depression, but when they properly reprioritize their lives with positive values and attitudes. And that's another reason why it's so important who you surround yourself with. I remember on this other app, and I jumped up into somebody's beam, and I mean, this person was going through something, and I mean, everybody in the box was negative. And this individual was wondering why they feeling the way they feeling. Look at the people you hanging around. Nobody spoke life into you. They just around here just plain old negative. Misery loves company. That's what they say, y'all. So throughout this ideal of discouragement and depression, you will always see the positive and the negative coming to the forefront. All right, number 5. Boredom. We talking about overcoming discouragement and depression, and we're dealing with the physical senses of it, and then tomorrow we'll deal with the spiritual senses. Blessings to everybody coming in. Can you please like and share the broadcast? Thank you. Boredom. Listen to me well, y'all. Boredom has a negative effect on our mood. God designed our minds and bodies to need a balanced amount of healthy variety and stimulation to feel alive and maintain equilibrium. Right? You ever heard the saying, "An idle mind is the devil's workshop"? Right? Boredom is the absence or dullness of stimulation and feeling. If you're bored, then your mind is not being stimulated. Are y'all catching this? And so what happens in your boredom, it produces apathy, lethargy, and a sense of worthlessness. And guess what? Continual boredom can set you up for depression. You being bored. And most people are only bored if they're boring. And so let me help some of you out that's in the broadcast. If you are bored, start working on not being bored. Right? I'm encouraging you to be creative. Be creative. We need to have interests and hobbies, right? We need varying different projects that interest us to work on those things. Let me tell you what Jesus said. He said, "My Father has been working until now, and I have been working." So God is never bored. Hello. And God is never boring. See, y'all don't want to have no church. He is always working. Find something to do if you bored. You bored, pick up your Bible and read it. Start a prayer journal. Hello. Start painting. Start coloring. They got all of these different kind of things that you can do. God is always working. All right, number 6. Gotta make sure I keep up with my time. All right, got 15 minutes. Abuse of drugs and alcohol. Guess what? Those things are depressants in themselves. See, y'all don't want to have no real church. Many times, these things are used to tranquilize the resulting pain or to fill the emptiness in our lives. People just numbing themselves to death. So many, and I'm talking about in church. So many people got a marijuana card in church. So y'all don't want to have no real church, right? Many times, the pain and suffering is not going to be truly alleviated without an exciting, worthwhile purpose in life. You need to remember I said you have not lived until you reach outside of yourself. That's the real meaning. You being selfish and me, myself, and I, after a while, you are going to be unhappy. Can I tell you, depressive feelings can be induced by certain drugs, abuses of alcohol, improperly working bodily functions or viral infections, and they call this a toxic depression. And we know that people have been wrongfully using legal and illegal drugs for a whole long time in our country. And that's why we got an epidemic right now. And many depressives, they take barbiturates, sedatives, tranquilizers, or alcohol to alleviate their suffering. These are all drugs that depress the central nervous system. See, y'all don't want to have no real church. And so the problem is not physical. Guess what? It's mental. Because all of this stuff is doing is treating a symptom, but it's not curing anything. It's not getting to the root of the problem. All right. According to the article, The Full Arsenal to Fight Depression, antidepressants are now taken. Listen to this statistic to show you how bad this is. Antidepressants are now taken by tens of millions of Americans. Last year, 111 million prescriptions were written for SSRIs, and that's drugs like Prozac. Y'all ain't have no church, right? And it was a 14% increase from 2000, according to IMS Health, a research firm. But a recent study found that the medications fail to help 1/3 of people suffering from mild to moderate depression and half with chronic depression. The benefits of prescription drugs aren't as great as we all believe. This was a doctor that said this, Dr. Daniel Kripke, a psychiatrist at the University of California, San Diego. Researchers don't understand why the medications which boost the production of the brain chemical serotonin aren't effective for everyone. Right, that's just like for those of y'all, I went to the doctor yesterday, so come to find out I've been diagnosed with acid reflux, right? And so I began to read up on it, and it said that if you're on it for a long term time, it can weaken your bones. It can cause your bones to be brittle. And because what it does is it takes out almost literally all the acid that's in your body, in your belly. And so you have to make sure, which I did today as I took it today, you have to make sure that you're taking some type of calcium and magnesium, because whatever this medicine does, it counteracts it. And so I was reading and studying where people who have been on it a long time, they can't come off of it. They have to continue to use it. So it's like you have to literally kind of like wean yourself off of it. So I can tell you, when I took the medicine yesterday, because I only take it, it said on the bottle as needed, once daily. So I took it yesterday, and when I got up this morning, I felt good. And I took it this morning. Now, what I read up on is you take it for 14 days and you stop. And it said that you will feel the full effects of the medicine between 2 to 4 days. So the medicine is not even instant. This is something that it evolves. It's almost like a time release capsule, right? And so you can best believe at the end of the 14th day, I'm coming off of it, because I don't need it doing something adverse in my body because I stayed on it too long, right? Because it said take it as needed. But you got people taking stuff and they don't even need it. See, y'all don't want to have no real church with me. And then you wonder why you got all of these adverse effects in your body. Listen. So biochemical responses are already depressing the depressive central nervous system. These drugs may alleviate certain pain or suffering temporarily, but in the long term, they depress the brain and nervous system even the more. It makes it worse, y'all. Making it even harder to solve underlying problems with right responses. So by taking the prescription drugs for their depression, they're making it far worse in the long run. Even my mom had been on a lot of medication for pain, dealing with arthritis and all that stuff. And it literally, the effects of the medicine, it caused her to have irritable bowel syndrome and memory loss. Like certain things, it would be hard for her. Like she know what she want to say, but can't bring it up to say it. The effects of being on the medicine, all like that. All right, the last one, number 7, and we'll pick up tomorrow dealing with the spiritual part of this, when we're talking about overcoming discouragement and depression. And this is just like other health factors, right? For example, imbalance in hormone production can cause depressive feelings. So y'all don't want to have no real church, right? Some people, they have a hormonal imbalance, and this may happen from malfunctioning pituitary, adrenal, thyroid problems, right? Other glands in the body. Trying to help y'all. Menstrual, postpartum, hello, or menopause hormone changes sometimes can produce negative moods. That's why usually once a woman has a hysterectomy, they put them on some type of hormone therapy. I was on it and I stopped taking it. And I had went into menopause because due to my hysterectomy. All right. So diseases. I hope y'all listening. I hope y'all learning something today. Diseases such as diabetes, hypoglycemia, thyroid illness, mononucleosis, infectious hepatitis, a heavy touch of the flu, or other poor health conditions can be responsible for some depressive feelings. Now, obviously, all depression is not caused directly by spiritual problems, but there are some physical factors. Are y'all catching this? And so, as we have seen, there are also physical causes as well. But indirectly, there are, if you go back far enough, spiritual problems that are causing this. Notice I said if you go back far enough, you're going to be able to pinpoint the spiritual problem that's causing all of this. All right? For example, just in the way of a diet, if a person is abusing their body in the way that they are eating and they become depressed from it, then there's a deeper spiritual problem. The person is not taking care of their body God has given them to take care of. Hello. Are y'all catching this? So, what am I saying as we get ready to close? I gave you 7 physical things that can cause you to have depression. So, guess what? Some of these things you have control over. I have this saying all the time: never complain about something you allow. You can control the type of food you eat. Are y'all catching this? There's certain things that you can control that you don't have to deal with. So don't complain about something you allow when you have the power to change it. So tomorrow we're going to look at the spiritual aspect of depression, but I will close with this. God's people is not immune to discouragement and depression. We're not immune to it. Hello. But when we get depressed, or if we get depressed, we may feel guilty and we may feel ashamed about talking about it, especially quote unquote in the church world, right? Thinking that spiritual people should never feel depressed. Well, that's a lie from the pit of hell. You're human. And we're going to look at tomorrow where we're going to see that spiritual depression is a recurring thing throughout Scripture. And we're going to see how the men and the women of God dealt with it. Hello, I'm finished. I'm finished. We're going to pick up part 2, and part 2 is going to be dealing with the spiritual aspect. Today we dealt with the physical. I know it was a lot, and so in your own time, once the video is uploaded, it uploads within 24 hours. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. So you will know certain things. You'll be able to identify within yourself and in other people when people are dealing with discouragement and dealing with depression. Y'all all right? Yeah. Thank you, Lord. And I think it's just so important that this is talked about, because I promise you it's more prevalent in us, in believers than we know or we think. It's so many people dealing with discouragement and depression. So many. So we're gonna deal with the spiritual aspect on tomorrow. God is faithful, and I told y'all yesterday I was concerned but not worried, and so again God moved upon my neighbor's heart, and so my pipes were froze. My pipes were froze, and so he came over, put a heater down into the well casing, and unthawed my pipe. So today I have to go get a piece, and he's going to set up a heating lamp down there that'll be on a timer, so I don't have to worry about that the pipes freezing again, because like I said, I was in the house in winter last year, and this did not happen. I didn't realize how cold it was outside because I hadn't been really outside. And then I went out today, and I went from my car to the job building, and my hands were so cold it almost felt like I had frostbite. And I promise you, I wasn't that far from the door, but my God, today it is very cold. And so you guys stay warm. I know everybody is living in different localities depending on where you live at. Um, Dress appropriately for whatever season you are in. All right. I don't see nobody dropping no comments, so I'm about to end the broadcast. I pray all is well with you, and I pray you got something out of the message. Like I said on tomorrow, the Lord said the same. We're going to deal with the spiritual aspect of dealing with the discouragement and the depression. I just wanted to give you the physical aspect because there are some physical things that can attribute to being discouraged and being depressed. All right, y'all. I love y'all for real. Until the next appointed time, live inspired, do it intentionally, do it on purpose. The Lord bless and keep you is my prayer. I don't know if it's something going on with the app or anything, but I haven't seen anybody drop any comments since Pastor Flo dropped the scripture in. So I'm not sure what's going on. If you are commenting, I can't see it. All right, y'all. I love y'all for real. Have a blessed when today is Wednesday, y'all. We through the middle of the week. And so I pray that you are winning today. And the Lord say the same. I will see you tomorrow. The Lord bless and keep you is my prayer. Shalom, shalom, shalom to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in and watching. And please make sure that you like and share the broadcast. Blessings to you.